Crowds of civilians and Hamas members are gathered at a handover point for the release of Israeli hostages. More than 250 hostages were abducted in the Hamas attack in Israel. Around half were released the following month during the only previous truce, and others have been recovered dead or alive during Israel's military campaign in Gaza, which has left tens of thousands of Palestinians dead and turned the tiny coastal enclave into a wasteland of rubble. For more on this, let's now get the latest with SABC News correspondent Giles Gibson, who joins us live from Tel Aviv. Giles, a very good afternoon to you. We understand, of course, a further 3 Israelis have been freed and released to the Red Cross. Just give us a sense then in terms of how this handover process has been going this afternoon.
Yeah, we now have confirmation that all 8 hostages who were set to be released over the course of the day have now been released as part of this latest round of hostage releases by Hamas. The 3 Israeli citizens include Agam Berger, a 20-year-old soldier who was released first up in the Jabalia refugee camp inside Gaza. Then we had a little bit of a wait, an hour or two, before Arbel Yahud, a 29-year-old woman, and Gadi Moses, an 80-year-old male, were also released in another part of the Gaza Strip, further to the south in Han Yunis. And also on top of that, we've had 5 Thai nationals who were mostly agricultural workers who were taken hostage on the 7th of October 2023 when they were working in southern Israel. So 8 in total now confirmed to be back in Israel and out of Hamas's hands. Really some quite chaotic scenes playing out in Han Yunis at the release of the hostages, after starting off, as I say, in the Jabalia refugee camp with the release of the 20-year-old soldier.
And just give us a sense then in terms of what is likely to happen on the Israeli side in terms of those that will be released. We understand some Palestinian prisoners, including children, will also be handed over.
Yeah, we're hearing reports that in exchange for those 3 Israeli citizens being released, 110 Palestinian prisoners or Palestinians in detention inside Israel are being released in this latest round of the deal. Of course, if we sort of step back and look at the overall numbers, what was agreed under phase 1 of the ceasefire deal between Israel and Hamas was that 33 Israeli hostages would be released in total, and that in exchange for around about 1,900 Palestinian prisoners or Palestinians in detention in Israel being released over the course of several weeks. Those Thai nationals that I mentioned that are also being released, that is a separate agreement that has been done with Hamas, separate to that overall ceasefire deal.
And of concern, and I wonder if you can speak to this, just give us a sense of what's happening in the occupied West Bank. We understand, of course, that not only there, mind you, that there are some airstrikes that have also been, deployed by Israel, killing several Palestinians. Just give us a sense of what's happening there.
Yeah, really what we've seen, sort of big picture playing out since the ceasefire deal was announced and then since it took effect, is really airstrikes and the military action inside Gaza mostly sort of falling quiet as this fragile ceasefire holds. You've had those extraordinary images of just rivers of people moving back into the north of Gaza, this area of the enclave that's been completely devastated by Israeli bombing over the course of the war. And at the same time, there's been more of an intensification in the West Bank, including some strikes, as you mentioned, as well as Israeli border forces, Israeli troops carrying out raids in places like Jenin as well. So really, as the situation in Gaza has quietened down a bit after so many months of very intense bombing and war, the situation in the West Bank appears to be intensifying.
And just as a parting shot in terms of just the humanitarian aid that is much needed in that area, how has that been going? We know, of course, that parts of Gaza had been receiving aid, humanitarian aid, for quite some time, even before the 7 October attack. Just talk to us about that process.
Well, today we also have this new law that was passed back in October last year, but it's now taking effect. The Israeli authorities basically banning the operations of one of the biggest aid agencies in the entire sort of area, that being UNRWA, the United Nations Relief and Works Agency for Palestinian Refugees. This is an agency that for many years has provided aid services, health services and educational services both inside Gaza as well as the West Bank and some neighbouring countries in the area as well. With this new law taking effect, the head of that UN organisation, Philippe Lazzarini, has said that their aid operations are crippled, and he described this as really a disastrous decision, a disastrous effects of this new Israeli law. And not only that, the fact that UNRWA's sort of aid effort is going to be disrupted by these very new restrictions. We also have other aid agencies operating in the region saying that they actually rely on some of the distribution networks that UNRWA has had in place for many years now to sort of give out their aid and provide their services as well. So there is a huge amount of concern as people start moving back into areas of Gaza that have been absolutely devastated by the Israeli military, that aid agencies, not just UNRWA, but other ones as well, like the World Food Programme, are just not going to be able to get the aid into those places as fast as they really would like.
Giles, thank you so much for that update. Appreciate your time. SABC News correspondent Giles Gibson there from Tel Aviv.